many, many wonderful women on the Everyday Superwoman show. This woman here in particular is, she was one of my favorite guests. And I haven't seen her so long, so I called up to find out, what is she doing now? Well, I would like for everyone to welcome my Everyday Superwoman guest, Raysor, Esquire, back to the show. Welcome back! Good evening! What you been doing?
Well, thank you for having me back. I'm glad to be here post-COVID, so that's a good thing.
We made it through.
We survived. That's the most important thing.
Yes. So, let everyone know what exactly it is that you do.
Well,
how can you break that down, right?
it might be simpler than we think.
Okay.
I'm a lawyer, so
yes.
And then everything follows after that.
Yes.
I'm in private practice, and I've had over 25 years of experience in practice in community law, public service law. Just the whole gamut of an incredible career. So here we are back again, and I'm still practicing. That's a good thing.
It's a wonderful thing. Boy, there's a lot going on.
Absolutely.
I remember the first time I heard about police brutality, and I can't breathe, and that was with Anthony Baez. I went to school with him. He went to DeWitt Clinton High School. And I remember then they did an illegal chokehold on him back then. So here we are all these years later, and we're still here, you know.
Sadly enough, yeah.
Sadly. So we know something has to be done. We know that police reform has to be done. Like, I don't even know what else. I'm so frustrated. I don't know what to say. Where do you stand with this as a lawyer in police reform?
Well, police misconduct has gone further back than that. The major case that shed light on it was Eleanor Bumpers,
yes,
which is way back. She was a mentally ill woman in her apartment, and the police shot her in her apartment. I believe she might have had a knife, but
yes.
The whole issue of mental illness and the police tactics, there were systemic changes based on that. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you've had the shooting by Bernard Goetz,
right.
Those types of shootings. So, and then you've had a lot of police cases that preceded that. Anthony Baez is interesting. I believe that was the case where the husband of Judge Judy presided over. That's an interesting tidbit there. Presided over that trial. Scheindler. Yes.
Scheindler. Right.
So, but I don't know whether we're hitting at the right chord. And are we really looking deeply at why do we have police brutality and misconduct, et cetera, by police? There's an acceptance within the department by many police officers. And there's a whole line of questions that I would have to ask. So, for example, do we have issues where we need more people, more officers of color
absolutely.
in the community, more police officers that are not, that look like the community? Will that help? Did anyone do a study regarding whether there will be less police brutality if the officers look like the people that they patrol? That's one of the things I would like to see.
Right.
Various complaints.
Okay.
One of the complaints is that when they go to the precincts, they're not treated civilly, even just asking for a police report or something simple. So you have a customer service issue. That's number one.
Okay.
Then you also have what they call here in Mount Vernon, it's the lack of communications for victims. So that's another issue. Like
right.
if they're a victim of a crime, we have numerous mothers and family members that have lost children, and they complain. We have meetings, we have rallies, they complain that there's no follow-up.
Right.
So again, that's a community issue. No follow-up on the cases, bad customer service when you want something simple like a police report, and a lot of them feel as if they're criminals just going to ask for that. So that's how it came about. And then
so the police reform report that you're implementing, that you're working on, does that include like
eliminating
eliminating
no-knock warrants.
Okay, specifically in New York State or Mount Vernon?
My report dealt. Sorry about that. My report dealt specifically with Mount.
No,
Vernon.
you did say that before. But
so it is. I've had people that had no-knock warrants in Mount Vernon. One particular person had a no-knock warrant. They ripped everything off their wall, which was not necessary. All the paintings were knocked down. They had the people face down on the ground. The person had asthma. She couldn't breathe. All of that destroyed the house inside. And it turned out they didn't find anything, or whatever they were looking for, they didn't find. But about the case we're talking about in Manhattan, that made the papers twice.
Oh, okay.
The first part was the no-knock warrant, and it's on one of the family members, Tawana Brown. Anyone who looks it up will see actually the video of officers coming with shields, about 20 officers coming in a regular house in Queens in the middle, 3 a.m. in the morning, with shields and battery rams, and just busted the door down.
I couldn't even imagine.
busted the door down.
And if she would have grabbed a weapon or anyone, and then boom, she just would have been dead. Her family.
The facts of this particular case could have led to that. And it's funny, my client was saved because he was in his underwear. And I know that sounds funny in a way, but
I get it.
The reason why is that they could not say there was a gun because he was in his boxer shorts.
Right.
If he was in regular clothes or khaki pants,
right,
they could always say he had a gun on him. But the fact that he was in his underwear and his girlfriend had on a blouse or something, they couldn't say he had a gun on him. So thank God he wasn't fully dressed. They could look at someone, he's standing in his boxers. Yeah. They can't say he had a gun in his boxers.
Right.
So that's really, but they were in the dark. They went to the basement of this particular home looking for this young man, which it turned out to be absolutely nothing he's done wrong, although he has a record. But what they were looking for, we still don't know.
And that has to be changed because you're ruining people's lives. This has happened. It was so many people. I hear this is like a regular story. Being born and raised here in New York City, that was normal to hear that the police bust into the house to look for something. Like I heard that a lot from friends they got. It never happened to me. But I know so many that it has happened to. And when it's all said and done, you just got to clean up the pieces. It's like whatever,
well, her door was knocked off the hinges, so they had to replace the door. The sons, they went to the basement. They put holes in the wall. He believes they punched the holes in the wall, looking for what they consider drugs or whatever, which was none. And there was really no crimes committed. The DA's office immediately dismissed the case. They took the guy out. They wouldn't let him dress on his own. They put handcuffs on him and his girlfriend, and they put the clothes on him. When he left, they threw his clothes all over the place, ripped his closets apart, drove them around for 25 minutes, went to the precinct, let the girl go. So it's a lot.
It's a lot. And that has to be changed.
Right. There was a follow-up by de Blasio, indicating that there was a follow-up article where he indicated he wanted to change no-knock warrants and how they're being, because this wasn't the first time, it was something else that made the papers.
Wow.
But are we going to always the question is, are there going to be really any changes? I don't know. I don't the prognosis is not good because there's no community relations.
So once that's what you're pushing for here,
it has to be, they have to get out of the cars and know who is who. Okay. And if you don't know that this is Jimmy Brother's kid, who is just a knucklehead opposed to
a criminal,
someone who's in the life of crime, you're going to make a mistake when he goes for a packet of Skittles in his pocket.
police reform, they started talking about it in the world, in this country. So at what point did you decide that you were gonna, participate in police reform here in Mount Vernon? Like, how did that start? Did someone come up with the idea? Y'all pulled together? Like, how did it start?
Well, what I wrote along with a few. I was president of the Metropolitan Black Bar back in the day, and we wrote a report. We do this as president of the Black Bar. We had a team of lawyers that wrote a report regarding Robert Morgenthau in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office and the racial divide there. That was, more than 20 years ago, but we dropped a major report about the fact that there were lack of folks of color in significant positions at the 8 assistant district attorneys in powerful positions. I had civil rights lawyers working with me. And it's in the papers actually, I looked it up the other day. We had Reverend Calvin Butts was with us. We had Reverend Daughtry in Brooklyn, one of the Brooklyn churches. We had Laura Blackburn, who was with the NAACP. Myself, A. Scott Bolden, who was on one of the TV channels. Yes. And then myself, where we met with Robert Morgenthau. So the idea of coming up with an analysis is what I do, and I know I could put together the team of people. Okay. Now, the governor has mandated by April 1st that the municipalities and the counties draft their own report. I'm actually reviewing 2 reports. Mount Vernon actually produced their report. I produced my report ahead of everyone else's, and then the county produced their report. I've actually responded to both reports, which I'm hoping to have letters go out this week, as to critiquing or adding to the recommendations. Is when you look at the Chauvin case, the biggest problem that they have is with supervision, because he didn't get to where he got to with that level of anger without the whole department.
Absolutely, because I think he had like 13 or 4. It was many complaints against him.
Even though you had the black chief testifying against him, you don't get off the hook, police chief, because you have to have known this was his bias. You have to have known he was. This cop is like, yo, this is the one we sending out there because he's out of control. He's a tough cop. Like you produced a guy like this. There have to be signs that you should have pulled him off, put him at the desk, sit him down for 6 months, let him work inside, and get some therapy.
He definitely get some therapy, because
Chauvin was a production of lack of supervision, lack of take leave because you're going crazy or whatever, you're under too much stress, whatever it is. So it's the fault of the entire police department. It just does not lay with Chauvin.
Right.
The other officers that were there didn't do anything. The police chiefs that knew who he was didn't put him on leave or do whatever. So it's a lot that going to go around. Chauvin is just symptomatic of even in just segue in Trayvon Martin's case. That guy's nuts. Who shot Trayvon Martin, and someone knew.
A total nut.
Someone knew that he was like that.
Yeah. Well,
Reports that came out, even my report would be third of the group that I've formed for Mount Vernon. Those are recommendations. Now, do you implement the recommendations? Can you implement the recommendations? Do you have the money to implement so do you have the money to reorganize your police department where they can go out and
they will have the money once you change it. Well, you gotta defund the police department. Now, my understanding of defunding, is allocate the money is very controversial words, which they trying to eliminate that word, but it needs to be allocated in the right places. The money needs to be redesigned, for lack of a better word, because there is money in the department. Where is it going? How is an officer like Chauvin staying on a job, getting overtime, making all this money, right? So there is money. We just need to figure out where the money needs to go.
This is a suggestion I had in the report, which again, you know, you have to be there to know it. For example, we paid out, I'm not sure in Mount Vernon, over the last 8 or 9 years, we may have paid out more than 10 million in lawsuits.
There you go.
So are we able to say to the police department, you pay for it? In other words, the city taxpayers shouldn't have to pay every time you do something wrong, and the amount of money we have to pay, that comes out of the taxpayer's pocket, because that's how it works here. And therefore, you know, but why can't it be deducted from the police department? Maybe that'll be an incentive to have more supervision of these officers out there, and to be able to monitor what they're doing.
Absolutely.